Hello everyone, I'm Yuvraj Srivastav, an HR professional, an HR practitioner for the last almost 23 years. Currently I work as Group CHRO for Make My Trip, Go Ibibo and Redbus. I have worked in the past with companies like PepsiCo, Oberoi Group of Hotels, Asian Paints, and started my career with the Armed Forces in 1991 when I got commissioned from Officers Training Academy. In 97 I shifted to corporate world. Keen student of psychology, did my graduation in psychology and MBA in HR. And I think last 23 years in HR have been extremely enriching in terms of learning, understanding organizations, understanding drivers of HR, and also understanding how HR can really contribute to the organizations. So we will talk through some of my experiences, and I'll try to really bring out some of the nuances of the talent management per se, so that we can mutually learn and gain something from each other. I think when we look at talent management and how I have seen over a period of time, things have drastically changed, and many a times what mistake we do is that we try to carry the practices of the past and try to modify it in the current context. By doing this, we miss out on the nuances of the current scenario. And in the organizations, especially in HR space, many of us as HR professionals may end up doing something on these lines. If I compare 20 years back what we used to do, if we compare it with current scenario, how things have really changed. Look at urban-rural divide. Look at the education pattern, that the education systems have changed. Earlier, people used to go to only few smaller places to study. Now, because of expansion of the road network, expansion of the intercity connectivity, education has become to a great extent reachable to many people in the country. And the urban-rural divide has narrowed down. If that is one factor, second important factor is digitalization. We say that there are at least 40-45% penetration in a smartphone ownership in the country. 45% people have smartphone and access to it, and internet connection. Has it really changed the way we should look at talent? Has it really changed the mindsets of people? I'm sure it has really done it. That's again important element which needs to be kept in mind while we are doing the talent management discussions. Also, if you look at the industries, earlier heavy industries, manufacturing driven economy used to drive the country. How things have really changed. Now in the GDP, there's a huge contribution of the new age service industry. E-commerce have really grown very fast. Today almost around 80 to 85 billion business done in India by the e-commerce companies. And what does it really mean? It means landscape has changed over talent management. It means that the way organizations used to look at the talent way back need to really look at it very differently now. And that is important if you consider that talent management plays a huge role in the success of the organizations. And it's visible. It's visible today when you look at the organization. If you look at the attrition rate, if you look at the tenuity stint in the organizations, if you look at the diversity, if you look at the type of people who are joining the organization, all this has really changed, and it is only a reflection of the fact that context has changed. Practices of the past, while they remain relevant from the framework point of view, needs to really be garnished and improved to fit into the current scenario of the organizations. Let's pick up first important element of talent management, and we all basically know that resourcing, talent scouting paves the way for the talent management in the organization. Every organization goes to hire to the campus, people do lateral hiring, people do walk-ins. There are various means and mediums of recruiting people in the organization. And they need to be effective. And if they need to be effective and they need to be in the context of the current and the organization, how I look at it is that, to ring fence and to mitigate the risk of losing talent it's very important in the today's scenario that one should look at a very diverse set of people on top of the funnel when it comes to recruitment. Great organizations, bigger organizations, multinationals, conglomerates, and even new age funded organizations may look at building a talent pipeline or the talent stack which looks high in terms of pedigree, high in terms of experience, but I think that by doing that we may not be always in position to really mitigate the risk of losing talent at a short tenure. I think this is the time when you need to really pick up talent from a diverse areas, from diverse demographics, from diverse campuses, from diverse background. So at least you ensure that your overall talent pool in the organization, talent quotient doesn't recede in case there are a set of people who leave the organization. And that's where I feel that scouting or the resourcing of the talent becomes an important element. How would I recommend it to be done is that, if you have a campus program, you should ensure that you are, diversifying yourself in different type of campuses. You should pick up right campuses. You should ensure that your campuses are identified in the different regions. They are in a different category. People call it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I think don't put everything in one basket. Ensure that you have people coming from different areas, best of the talents. What happens? Everybody comes with a different mindset. Everybody will have a very different driver, and when they come in the organization, they make it a very, very heterogeneous set of people coming into the organization, bring in huge amount of stability in the system and in the talent space in the organization. Gone are the days when the organizations used to go to only certain places and hire. I think that you are not doing the right thing. Currently, the context needs to be changed. Again, in terms of a campus, if you do it that way, it's also important to hire people from the open sources, hire people from the lateral entries. There's a big channel which makes huge amount of difference is a referral channel. And my personal experience has been that the tenuity, retention, quality of talent, I think is far, far better and is guaranteed if you have referral channels activated well. So within the organizations, if you have to really scout for the talent, get people on board, clearly diversify campuses, clearly look at the channels which are employee referral channels or referrals from outside, and also ensure that you are going to different places and hiring people who are lateral. While people are getting onboarded, my experience has been that one important element many a times we miss out needs to be focused upon is background checks. Background checks, what I'm trying to say is not that figuring out that what a person had a rating, how the person had behaved, or how the person was evaluated in the previous organizations, or the address verification or the criminal verification. While all these verifications happen, my personal experience has been, besides doing psychometric assessment, if you do it at all, I like to do it for the certain set of people, not for everyone. Background reference checks are very, very important. If you speak to the leaders with whom they have worked in the past, if you ask them very probing questions, I think that you get to know whether the person will be fitting culturally in the organization or not. And that's very important. Hiring people just based on the academic interviews of 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 4 or 5 rounds may not really end up giving you the best of the talent. So it's important to focus on verifications, reference checks, and reference checks are not meant to really figure out the person is good or bad. Reference checks are more meant to figure out will person be culturally fit in my organization or not. That should be the intent of looking at hiring. Another source of getting great talent in the organization is the gig workers and gig economy. I think it's a question of mindset that organizations start accepting that gig economy or the gig workers add huge value to the organizations, and it's best of both worlds for the organization as well as individuals. I personally feel in certain niche skill areas there are people available. There are many portals available who are providing access to reach to the best of the talent in some of the niche skill areas. It's important to get them onboarded. It's important to use them wherever it is needed. And more than that, it's important to treat them like a part of the organization. That bonding, that bringing them together, that ensuring that you are getting right recognition for a good job done becomes important to leverage gig workers. And I think going forward, I'm not sure that maybe in a couple of decades time, the whole economy will be dependent on the gig workforce, and that would be a great state to be in, not only from the talent point of view but also from the organization's point of view. And it will clearly happen because the knowledge will be in the open domain. That reality of people having information about the organization, disclosure of information, confidentiality and all that stuff will continue to be there, but the fact is the overall confidentiality, overall secrecy of the data is more or less to a great extent diluting, and it is open. And not that people are not ethical, but I think people don't even give much of an importance. Everybody likes to really do things on their own. So I think depending on a gig workers is an important element, and I will recommend every organization to practice this and at least pilot it in some areas. I'm sure you'll have your own learnings in that area. After talent sourcing or a scouting, another important element in the whole talent management cycle is onboarding and engagement. And I have personally experienced that onboarding and initial engagement with the fresher or the person who joins the organization new makes great amount of difference in terms of productivity, in terms of building pride in the organization, and also having right set of people getting ingrained in the culture of the organization. In current scenario, I think that it has to be customized in view of the organization's business delivery. Many multinationals, old economy companies, if I may say so, established economy companies would still have people coming into the system and going through the process of onboarding, which can last right from 3 months to 9 months, depending on the level where you are joining. But I think that gone are the days to really have that sort of gestation period for people getting onboarded well. What my experience has been that in current scenario when talent can be scarce, it's very, very important to get people onboarded, and they should hit the road running as quickly as possible. And business leaders also look at the similar sort of an expectation from everyone. If that be so, very strong modules to induct people in the business first should be done. Many a times we do 1 or 2 days induction and onboarding for people on the organizational culture, policies and all that stuff, and then we get on to doing regular onboarding in terms of the modules. My suggestion has always been, and we believe, and I believe as an individual, as a professional, that first thing what a person should be taught in the organization is all the nuances of the business. Ensure that even if a person is coming in finance or a customer support group or an HR or a business, should clearly be understanding the overall organization and the organization's business. Once that business is explained, I think people become very, very comfortable in terms of relating their role in the organizational context. That's very, very important. I think in Make My Trip we do one very interesting stuff. We have a lot of people joining every month. We do one program called Immersion, organizational immersion, which happens after every month, and all those who have joined in last 30 to 40 days, they become part of this. Is a 5 days program. Everybody is supposed to be in this program morning till evening. Business leaders, not the number 2s or number 3s, business leaders come and spend 1.5 hours and explain about their business and their vertical and what do they do and how they add value to the organization. Program starts with CHRO's lecture welcome and talking about the culture of the organization, ends with founder and co-founder talking about what they have seen in the organization and how they look at people in the organization and what the business model has been. They talk about the journey of the whole organization. Last day, we also send people to market to meet the customers. What happens, this 4 or 5 days immersion program becomes so powerful and impactful that people completely get ingrained in the culture of the organization. They start understanding the work, what they're expected to do. Then they also start relating with what their role is within the organization. So that's important, engagement and onboarding. I will also say that when a person is getting onboarded, initial 1 week he observes how has his infrastructure being handled, whether it's a laptop, a printer, or a visiting card, or a sitting space and all that. People are very evaluative in the initial 1 week when they join the organization, and that is a time when you'll see many people put posts on the LinkedIn and the social media that how they have really felt in the organization. It's important to grab that opportunity as an onboarding. Create a delight for people who are joining in the organization initial 1 week. ensure that they go and talk about it to people whom they work with and whom they have known. What happens is that it builds a strong pride, and it builds a strong ambassadoring for the organization when a person joins and gets a great experience in the first week. In Make My Trip, before a person joins, on that particular day, every individual gets the laptop on the workstation, gets his or her connection, gets his visiting card, everything is placed, or email ID, all this gets configured and given to the person right on day one itself. I think it creates huge amount of delight. So I'm saying that onboarding experience has to be absolutely out of the world, because that is the stepping stone for getting people in the system and creating a great delight for them. Post that is the process of training them or onboarding them in the culture of the organization, the business of the organization. That period should not really go beyond 1 month, because if it goes beyond 1 month, what happens? A person gets under pressure to start performing on the job. Businesses pull and absorb people in their function, and they go slightly handicapped in terms of knowing the whole organization.